Outrageous Chapter 46. Come stay with me, I'll look after you. Sang Wanxi's words brushed by Lu Jiwei's ears with the breeze. Lu Jiwei didn't dare to believe her ears. What did she just say? Stay with her, she'll take care of me, was this a joke? While Lu Jiwei was lost in her thoughts, the wounds on her fingers were exposed to the air. Sang Wanxi helped her to wipe away the dust on her palm as she slowly applied the medicine. As the medicine seeped into the wound, so did the pain. Lu Jiwei immediately came back to her senses, her face contorting in pain as she forgot her thoughts. Ouch! Although it was just a bit of pain, it was magnified 1,000 times to her. If not for the fact that there were so many people on set, she would really be crying out. Hearing her voice, Sang Wanxi looked at her, then gently blew air on the wound, as if wanting to blow away the pain. It hurts, then I'll be gentler. Lu Jiwei carefully moved her other hand. It hurts when the medicine goes in, it's not your fault. With how lightly Sang Wanxi was moving, it would be the air applying medicine for her if it was any gentler. Sang Wanxi replied, understood, then I'll be faster, bear with it. Lu Jiwei replied pitifully, okay. She promised to bear with it, she might as well turn her head to not even look at it. At the same time, she was consoling herself in her heart. If you can't see it, it doesn't exist. If it doesn't exist, then it doesn't hurt. Sang Wanxi took a quick glance at her side profile, smiling as she thought about that quiet okay. Her heart hurt for her, but she also thought she was too cute. If you're so scared of pain, why weren't you more careful when you were filming just now? Sang Wanxi never thought that Lu Jiwei would rub her fingers raw. She thought that someone as scared of pain as Lu Jiwei would cherish her body and be careful. Today clearly proved she was wrong. Lu Jiwei's attention was taken away from the pain, and her expression softened. Her voice was light but serious. I got too into character, and didn't think too much. She was an actress. When she was in character, her first thought was to consider how to properly bring out the character's emotions and not how to protect herself. Meng Lianyu once said that once you get into character, the actor has to let the role be more important than themselves, or the scene would be a no-go. Actors needed to portray different roles and characters, and they were living beings. So how could they be constantly thinking of themselves while they were portraying other living beings? It's not as if they're portraying themselves. At this moment between life and death, would the little junior sister still be thinking of how to keep herself pretty and clean, her fingers pristine? Of course not. She wanted to live, so she struggled and grabbed whatever she could on the ground. Even if she tore open her fingers, she didn't mind, as long as she could live. Reaching that state, Lu Jiwei naturally would forget about the fact she was scared of pain. She was just doing what an actor should. She lowered her head to look at her bandaged fingers. Remembering Guo Hui's look of satisfaction, her heart also felt satisfied. As long as the result is good, it's not wasted. Sang Wanxi looked at her. In that scene, she thought Lu Jiwei acted very well. For something that only needed 70%, Lu Jiwei managed to give it full marks. Even Guo Hui was surprised, not daring to interrupt Lu Jiwei's performance. This was when Lu Jiwei was filled with energy. If it was disrupted, it might not appear again. But Sang Wanxi believed it would appear again. Because it was Lu Jiwei. Lu Jiwei's acting had already let her and the little junior sister become one. Her happiness and sadness were the little junior sister's happiness and sadness. They could feel the little junior sister's pain and resentment through her. And Lu Jiwei's acting was only improving every second. She would only be better from here on out. You did very well. Sang Wansi said. Many people were crying along with you on set, and the scriptwriter said you acted well too. Lu Jiwei paused, exclaiming in surprise, really? When she was acting, she was wholly focused. At most, she would be able to notice Guo Hui's direction and the movement of the cameras. The other employees weren't in the field of concentration, so she wouldn't know what happened. Really? Lu Jiwei was overjoyed, becoming as bright as a flower. Then my injury is worth it. She did it, she controlled the emotions of the scene. She made everybody cry. The little junior sister was so pitiful, everybody better cry. Sang Wansi applied more medicine. Lu Jiwei immediately sucked in another mouthful of air, ouch. She immediately calmed down. No more silliness, it really hurts. Sang Wansi smiled. Jiwei. Lu Jiwei froze. It was the first time she heard Sang Wansi call her that. It wasn't strange, it sounded quite nice. What's wrong, she asked. Sang Wansi carefully bandaged the last finger. Then she gently held the back of her hand as her fingertips brushed against her skin. As if she was consoling her, but also like she was encouraging her. The result waiting for you in the future definitely won't let down your effort and sacrifice. Maybe it was this show, or maybe it was the next. She believed Lu Jiwei would definitely be seen. She believed Lu Jiwei would stand in the brightest spot to be liked by many more people. Good actors wouldn't be let down. Even children standing in the darkness would let out their light. Lu Jiwei looked up slowly, She believed it too, and she still had the male protagonist halo, there would always be one show that would make her popular. That's settled then. Sang Wansi kept the medicine and said. Lu Jiwei didn't follow her train of thought, what's settled? Sang Wansi turned to look at her seriously, you'll come stay with me, I'll look after you. Lu Jiwei. You're actually serious? Sang Wansi continued, I'm the best person to look after you now. Lu Jiwei. How are you the best person? The friends you're close to, it's just me and Ying Xize, right? Right. Will you let Ying Xize come? No. Will you get your family or your manager to come? No. Sang Wansi concluded, so I should be the one to look after you. Lu Jiwei opened her mouth, pausing for a while before saying. Wansi, you need to work too. She wasn't planning to ask anybody to accompany her. Because she felt like in their hearts, she wasn't at the level to ask them to travel to come take care of her. Her parents didn't care about her. Wen Yao had other jobs to do. And she wasn't a kid anymore, she could take care of herself. It was just her fingers being injured. She was on break for a while anyway, she could just be more careful when using her hands. I have work, but I need to eat and sleep too. Sang Wansi's reply was clear. Lu Jiwei still felt like it was too much trouble. Wansi, I can take care of myself, really. Sang Wansi looked at her calmly, then handed the bottle of medicine to her, try opening the cap. Lu Jiwei. You're purposely making things difficult for me. Sang Wansi knew she couldn't. She was afraid of pain, even a little bit. Applying medicine was like physical punishment to her. It was precisely because she knew this, that she insisted on taking care of her. She couldn't let her battle her pain alone in the room, could she? Don't refuse me, Jija. Sang Wansi used her killing move again. Lu Jiwei. It's happening again. She just knew that Lu Jiwei couldn't resist those words. Seeing that Lu Jiwei didn't say anything after that, Sang Wansi smiled. She reached out and squeezed Lu Jiwei's shoulder. One more person staying with me is good too. We can eat together and chat more, rehearse our scenes. It won't be boring. Don't feel like you're bothering me. You need to remember what I said, you're someone who has support. She cared because they were friends. Only friends would remember that Lu Jiwei was deathly afraid of pain. Refusing her would be saying they're not close. Lu Jiwei considered it in silence. Almost as if the system felt she was being too indecisive, it pushed a new mission. Mission issued, agree to the female lead Sang Wanxi's request to live together. Time limit, 3 minutes. Lu Jiwei. This outrageous system, you're obviously on the female lead's side. Since she had already been convinced, and the system had now thrown her a mission, there was naturally no more opposition. She looked at Sang Wanxi with warm eyes. Sincere hospitality is hard to come by, then I'll go over and intrude on our teacher Sang for a period of time. Sang Wanxi smiled, I welcome teacher Lu's intrusion. System judgment, successfully agreed to cohabitation. Mission point +1. Please work hard, host. Lu Jiwei smiled, her heart warm. This was what it felt like to have someone supporting her. How nice. Sang Wanxi's room was on the upper levels of the hotel. It was a luxurious penthouse with a living room, a kitchen, a closet, and all that. The space was bright and airy, elegant and detailed. The big bed was soft and comfortable, you could roll around a few times on it. Comparing Lu Jiwei's room to this, it was absolutely ordinary. She didn't have any negative feelings though. Sang Wanxi had the qualifications to enjoy the best. No matter whether it was based on her female lead role, or her identity as a rich heiress. Sang Wanxi still had scenes to shoot, so she had to stay on the set. So her assistant, Xiao Chu, was the one responsible to help Lu Jiwei move. Xiao Chu was fair-skinned, with a bit of plumpness on her face. She had gotten into the industry once she graduated, and it had been about a year or so. She was smart and witty, and capable to boot. Zhang Xianru had nothing but praise for her. When Sang Wanxi entered Fenghe Entertainment, Xiao Chu had been assigned to her by Zhang Xianru. Ever since then, she had been Sang Wanxi's assistant and the two were on good terms. Lu Jiwei wasn't as familiar with Xiao Chu. The two of them had only seen each other occasionally and greeted each other. So now, the two of them were standing around awkwardly. You're coming over to stay? Xiao Chu spoke first. Lu Jiwei was a little embarrassed. She lifted a hand, wanting to scratch her head, then remembering she had a wound, she changed it to using her hand to rub her head. This was Sang Wanxi's decision. Zhang Xianru said there was no problem too, so Xiao Chu naturally had nothing to say. She helped Lu Jiwei put her luggage away and poured her a cup of water. Looking at her watch, she asked, "Do you need me to accompany you or do you want to be alone?" Lu Jiwei sat down carefully on the sofa. You don't have to accompany me, I can be alone. That's right, don't you need to go accompany Wanxi on set? Go ahead. Xiao Chu nodded, then wrote her number down for her. Call me if there's anything, I'll reply quickly. Oh, and. She paused for a while and thought, Xiao Sang's scenes will be done at night, she asked you to wait for her to come back before eating together. Anyway, don't do anything, just wait for her to come back. Lu Jiwei paused, then nodded, okay. Xiao Chu walked towards the door, reminding again, you have to remember. Lu Jiwei laughed, don't worry. With a clack, the door shut. Lu Jiwei exhaled as she leaned back. At this moment, she had no other thought, except for big. The room was so big, the bed was so big. Wait. There was only one bed. Chu Luo came late, so he didn't know anything about Lu Jiwei's injury. In this scene, he was acting with Sang Wansi. After 3 scenes, Sang Wansi was allowed to knock off. But until the last scene, he didn't see Lu Jiwei on set at all. He frowned. Odd. Didn't that woman like to watch the director at work? Why wasn't she here today? Forget it, it was good that she wasn't here. Who liked to see their love rival parading around in front of them? Besides, since she wasn't here, he had even more opportunities to be alone with Sang Wansi. Like a romantic candlelit dinner. Action is better than just thinking about it. After he made up his mind, he immediately halted Sang Wansi, who was getting ready to leave. Pausing, Sang Wansi looked back politely at him. Chu Luo smiled and walked forward. I'll be done after one more scene, do you have time to have dinner together? Sang Wansi answered without thinking, I don't have time, someone's waiting for me. Chu Luo. Chu Luo asked, who? Sang Wansi looked at him, then glanced at the busy set. Everybody was busy with their own work and had no time to look at them. It was pretty conducive for them to talk. So Sang Wansi drew closer to Chu Luo. She suppressed her voice, using a volume that only the two of them could hear, to say, my girlfriend. Chu Luo. He choked. Lu Jiwei, it's you again. Outrageous Chapter 47. When it came to infuriating Chu Luo, it was just as Lu Jiwei said, Sang Wansi was the ultimate expert. She didn't like being too close to Chu Luo. After all, Chu Luo was someone whose imagination would run wild if you gave him so much as a smile. If only he had been a bit more normal, if only he had been less self-assured, she might not have treated him so hostilely. As for the girlfriend part, she wasn't scared Chu Luo would go around telling others too. Girlfriends who had a good relationship and were close to each other were so common, it wasn't like they actually had something going on as long as someone said it. It didn't matter if others said it, the two of them had to agree to it. Sang Wansi left after angering Chu Luo, leaving him there alone trying to save himself from the situation. Xiao Chu had left to buy dinner, and just arrived. Sang Wansi took some bags from her hands, helping to share the load. Xiao Chu looked at the set, then at her, all done. Sang Wansi nodded. Everything good, you didn't get hurt right? As Sang Wansi's assistant, if she wasn't on the scene and Sang Wansi had accidentally got hurt, Zhang Xianru would scold her to death after she went back to the company. Sang Wansi answered calmly and warmly, all good, no injuries. Little Chu sighed in relief and smiled, that's good. Are you hungry? I bought the food, let us go back to the hotel to eat and rest. Sang Wansi asked, what about the medicine box? Little Chu immediately lifted the small black box she was holding in her right hand and shook it gently, here, all prepared. Sang Wansi finally relaxed. They got back to the hotel and entered the lift. Xiao Chu looked at the numbers changing, then at Sang Wansi. She thought for a while, then asked, Xiao Sang, are you really okay with letting Lu Jiwei stay in your room alone? She wasn't familiar with Lu Jiwei and didn't know her character. She was unsure if she was really as innocent as she looked. Lu Jiwei was also a newcomer and there was basically no information about her online. So when Sang Wansi brought up that she wanted to bring Lu Jiwei back to her room to take care of her, she couldn't help but worry. Sang Wansi said, not okay. Little Chu looked at her in hopes of getting an agreement. That's right, you're also worried something will happen with a stranger in your room. Sang Wansi, I'm worried she'll aggravate her wound. Thinking about it, Lu Jiwei would definitely stay still with how scared of pain she was. But she didn't have the habit of being taken care of, and she didn't want to trouble others. Sang Wansi was worried she would force herself to endure the pain and do whatever she wanted, not waiting for Sang Wansi to come back. Maybe she was alone in the room crying in pain right now. Little Chu looked helpless. That's not what I meant, Sang Wansi understood at that moment, turning to look at her. Then, the elevator arrived with a ding. Sang Wansi smiled. Even if you don't trust my assessment of others, you should trust Sister Zhang. Xiao Chu froze for a second, then ran out of the elevator and followed her. Little Sang, don't misunderstand. It's not that I don't trust you. But some people are just deceitful by nature, I'm worried you'll be fooled. I understand, Sang Wansi patted her arm comfortingly. But Lu Jiwei won't deceive me. Because Lu Jiwei wasn't someone like that. She was always careful, cherishing every friend to the point that she could give up her gloves and slippers even in the middle of winter. So she believed Lu Jiwei wouldn't deceive her. She also hoped Lu Jiwei would never deceive her. Lu Jiwei indeed didn't stay still. She wanted to take a shower before Sang Wansi came back. But her wounds hurt whenever they touched water, and whenever they hurt, she couldn't bear it. The doctor had also mentioned that she should avoid getting her fingers and wounds wet these few days. Seeing it, Lao Wu advised her to stay still. Be obedient and stay still since you're hurt. Don't always think about doing things yourself. Sang Wansi already said she'll take care of you. He had never seen someone so afraid of pain before. He didn't know if it was a good or bad thing. Lu Jiwei sat on the sofa with her head lowered. Sang Wansi couldn't possibly take care of her baths too. She was despondent for a while, then stood up determinedly, I can do it, I can. I'm already a strong adult. After that, she rushed into the bathroom. Lao Wu. 10 seconds later. Lu Jiwei sat on the sofa, hugging herself. The room was quiet. Lao Wu. Still going. Going. Lu Jiwei said. Lao Wu's face was filled with confusion. Brave Lu, don't be afraid of difficulties. She cheered herself on. You're scared of pain. When Lu Jiwei heard scared of pain, she immediately kept quiet. Hugging her legs, she lowered her head and asked despondently, is there any pain immunity pass? Lao Wu said, there is. Her eyes immediately lit up. Lao Wu, but you can't draw it. Lu Jiwei. As long as nobody mentioned that ridiculous prize drawing, everybody would still be friends. Lao Wu looked at her finger and sighed, silly child, when someone is taking care of you, don't always think of relying on yourself. Experience what it's like to rely on someone else. The transparent physique had made her past lonely and tough, only able to rely on herself. It wasn't the same now. People noticed her, people liked her, people were willing to take care of her. As a sincere mommy fan, Lao Wu certainly hoped she would be able to experience more of such feelings. People didn't need to be strong every waking moment, Lu Jiwei just wasn't used to it. She wasn't used to being taken care of, she wasn't used to being cared about. She needed a bit of time to acclimatize to this life. Lao Wu advised her again, don't regard your friends as outsiders, got it? He believed that both Sang Wansi and Ying Xize treated Lu Jiwei well and wholeheartedly. If Lu Jiwei kept treating them as outsiders and kept her distance, it would hurt them. Lu Jiwei nodded her head, then nodded her head again. At this moment, sounds came from outside, followed by the sound of the door opening. She turned to look. Sang Wansi had returned. Dinner was placed on the coffee table and opened. The medicine box was placed next to the television. Xiao Chu looked at Lu Jiwei, then at Sang Wansi. If there's nothing else, I'm leaving first. You guys have dinner, call me if there's anything. Sang Wansi nodded, okay, thanks for your hard work. Lu Jiwei also said obediently, thank you. You're welcome, bye. Now there were only two of them left in the room. Lu Jiwei reached out, preparing to push the meat right in front of Sang Wansi. You've worked hard all afternoon, eat more. Sang Wansi's hand held onto her wrist gently, I'll do it. Her gaze moved down and landed on the damp plaster. You touched water. Under her burning gaze, Lu Jiwei suddenly felt like a thief who had been caught. She drew back her fingers and rubbed her nose instinctively, just a bit, it's okay, it's really okay. Sang Wansi fell into silence. She didn't ask what she was planning to do, saying calmly, after we're done bathing, I'll help you reapply the medicine. Let us eat first. Lu Jiwei obediently agreed. She couldn't hold onto the chopsticks now, so she could only grab her spoon in her palm like a child who had just learned how to eat. Although there were times her thumb would touch it when she was eating, and it hurt, but she could power through it. Sang Wansi looked at her, then asked, what do you want to eat? Lu Jiwei thought about how Lao Wu said she shouldn't treat friends like outsiders, then sat on the carpet and said obediently, shrimp. Sang Wansi picked up the chopsticks and took a piece of shrimp, sending it straight to her mouth. The fragrant aroma came wafting towards her. Lu Jiwei paused, her eyes turning to Sang Wansi. Sang Wansi maintained her position, raising an eyebrow slightly to hint her to open her mouth. Lu Jiwei opened her mouth obediently and confusedly before Sang Wansi fed her another spoonful of rice. When she returned to her senses, the bowl of rice and spoon she had in her hands before had already ended up in Sang Wansi's hands. What else do you want to eat? Lu Jiwei quickly chewed before swallowing, Wansi, I can feed myself. Sang Wansi took another piece of shrimp and placed it on the rice, and I can feed you too. She took the shrimp and a spoonful of rice and sent it to her mouth, her face calm, don't force yourself if your fingers hurt, be good. Lu Jiwei didn't think she would have this sort of treatment. How embarrassing. She ate the food Sang Wansi held in front of her, lowering her head. After a while, she said, I feel like I need to pay you a salary. Sang Wansi looked at her as she chewed, Lu Jiwei. Nursing fee. Sang Wansi smiled and said, no need, just make some dumplings for me. She liked the dumplings that Lu Jiwei made. But after the new year, she hadn't had a chance to eat them again. Now that they were in the same filming crew and they were both busy with filming, Lu Jiwei had no time to cook either. So instead of money, she wanted dumplings more. She didn't need money anyway. Lu Jiwei blinked, you like my dumplings? Sang Wansi nodded, a lot. Lu Jiwei was ecstatic, then I'll make them for you. Sang Wansi looked at her hand then said sternly, after your hands are recovered and you have time. With Lu Jiwei's propensity to do whatever she asked, she was really scared of coming back tomorrow to see Lu Jiwei making dumpling skins in the room. Lu Jiwei's eyes curved into crescents, all right, don't worry, I'll wait till my hands recover to make them for you. With the current state of affairs, she was crying when her hands touched water, what more making dumplings? She could do nothing aside from obediently staying still. Sang Wansi nodded in satisfaction, good. Then she continued feeding her dinner. Watching Lu Jiwei's cheeks puff up as she chewed, then as she lowered her head and used 2 hands to drink soup from the bowl, she felt it was quite cute. Like a squirrel. It made people want to pinch her cheeks. As Lu Jiwei ate, she felt something was wrong. Why did it feel like Sang Wansi was feeding her faster and faster? Wansi, stop feeding me, you should eat too. Okay, one more bite and I'll eat my food. Jija, open your mouth. Lu Jiwei admitted defeat. She silently chewed on her vegetables. Was it because of the dumplings that Sang Wansi became like this? This meal essentially dictated the way that Lu Jiwei would have her meals for the next few days. She couldn't say no. Because of her fear of pain, Sang Wansi didn't accept any suggestion of her feeding herself. To not be too formal, Lu Jiwei could only go along with it. Forget it, she'll wrap more dumplings for this kid as a reward. After dinner, they packed up and wiped down the table. The 2 of them stood up as they were digesting, helping Sang Wansi rehearse for her upcoming scenes. After 30 minutes, Sang Wansi suddenly held the script and said, "Does the little junior sister like Xiao Jing?" Lu Jiwei's hand trembled. This was clearly a question, why did it seem like she was saying it as an answer? Lu Jiwei hid her face with the script, showing only her eyes as she looked silently at Sang Wansi. She didn't know whether or not to answer this question. After all, the scriptwriter had said she couldn't tell the other actors. Because of her silence, Sang Wansi also got her answer. No wonder she felt like when Lu Jiwei was acting as the little junior sister, she always acted like she was particularly fond of her, as if she wanted to stick together with her forever. So this was the reason. Cough, Lu Jiwei changed the topic. Was filming successful today? I remember you had a scene this afternoon with Chu Luo. How was it? Is he still pestering you? Sang Wansi nodded, then said, but I angered him away. Lu Jiwei's face immediately turned curious, angered away how? Sang Wansi looked at the script, he wanted to invite me to dinner, I said someone was waiting for me. He asked who, and I said. The curious child Lu Jiwei was staring at her, waiting for her answer. Sang Wansi slowly looked up through her eyelashes, her beautiful eyes glimmering as if there was a river of silver in them. This silver river was currently reflecting another person's image. My girlfriend. Lu Jiwei was startled. Clearly, her eyes were so clean and pure, there was no desire in them, but it made her heart quiver. Her heart skipped a beat. She suddenly was very grateful Sang Wansi's attention was solely focused on work. If Sang Wansi wanted to be a ruler of the sea, then nobody would be able to escape. They were pretty much done with rehearsing, and their food was pretty much done digesting. Sang Wansi closed the script in her hand and looked at Lu Jiwei, time to bathe, girlfriend. Cough. Lu Jiwei choked, her heart suddenly feeling hot. Help, there wasn't a need to call her that when they were alone. Who could stand it? Sang Wansi calmly handed her a glass of water. It was all an act anyway, it didn't matter whether she called her that in front of Chu Luo or when they were alone. Take it as helping the shy Lu Jiwei get used to it. Lu Jiwei exhaled, let us bathe. Who's first? Sang Wansi put the script aside and then turned to look at her, together. Lu Jiwei. What did she just say? Are my ears failing me at such a young age? Sang Wansi was very calm, we'll bathe together, to save time. Lu Jiwei had rolled around on the ground so much today when she was filming, there was no way she could not bathe. And her hands couldn't touch water, it was impossible for her to do it herself. So by left or by right, it was up to Sangwon Si to help her. In that case, then why not bathe together? We're both girls, it's fine. Sangwon Si patted her shoulder comfortingly. Lu Jiwei. It's embarrassing even if we're girls. Sangwon Si, or are you unwilling? If you're unwilling, we can bathe separately. Lu Jiwei simply didn't know how to answer this question. It was embarrassing to say she was willing. But saying she was unwilling was like she was scorning Sangwon Si. She was caught between Scylla and Charybdis. But she forgot, she had an outrageous system. An outrageous system that would make the decision for her under these sorts of circumstances. Mission issued, reply to female lead Sangwon Si's question, express that you're more than happy to do it. Time limit, 5 minutes. Lu Jiwei. This dog system, don't you think there's something wrong somewhere? How can you be more than happy to take a bath together? She felt the system was increasingly not separating her and Sangwon Si as two uninvolved people. Lao Wu explained considerately, that's right, that's about it. Work hard and improve the relationship a bit more. The system should probably ask you to take 9.90 to get your marriage certificate. Lu Jiwei. Lao Wu consoled her, a female lead that doesn't follow the script isn't too bad. At least there's no need to worry about the love line and career line, it's so nice. Lu Jiwei. Wake up, this is a fake love line. The female lead who doesn't follow the script doesn't like me. We're clearly just friends. Lao Wu didn't care. Who cares what sort of relationship it is, as long as it can accomplish the missions and save the world. He turned off the monitor that showed Lu Jiwei's situation, and prepared to work on a complex program. All right, I'm going to fix the program. Work hard. Shower early and rest early, recover well. Call me if there's anything. Lu Jiwei asked suspiciously, you're going to fix the program again? She didn't know if it was just her, but she felt like Lao Wu was constantly fixing the program. If he wasn't fixing the program, he was going to fix the program. Was this program really so lousy that administrators had to fix it constantly? Day after day Lao Wu replied calmly, I have to fix it and improve the protection, because... He stopped. Lu Jiwei, because what? Lao Wu, nothing, go do your mission. It's just 5 minutes, time waits for no man. Do you want to get shocked? Of course Lu Jiwei didn't. But it was a big problem as to how to finish this mission and not be hated by Sangwon Si. But borrowing her pain-fearing physique, her brain spun at max speed and thought of a solution. Willing, why would I be unwilling? She grabbed her pajamas and put on her persona as Sangwon Si's true love fan. Being able to bathe with my idol, that's something so many people dream of doing but can't do. Of course I'll be more than happy to do it. Sangwon Si raised an eyebrow. Then why did you stay silent for so long? Lu Jiwei struggled to find an excuse. I was worried you'll regret it, so I was giving you time to back out of it. Lu Jiwei, believe me, or this child won't be able to keep spinning her story. Crying.jpg. Sangwon Si really stopped asking. She picked up her pajamas and walked to the bathroom, filling the tub with water. I'll help you put on the medicine after you bathe. As someone who needed a favor, Lu Jiwei was incredibly obedient. When she heard the system say mission point +1, her smile became even wider and more genuine. Mission points, it really was a good thing to have more of them. Once the tub was filled, then the most important step was here. Sang Wansi stood up and looked at Liu Jiwei, her eyes drifting over her clothes. At this moment, the two of them were inexplicably silent. Liu Jiwei took the initiative. "I'll do it." Sang Wansi asked, "Can you?" Liu Jiwei nodded. Sang Wansi couldn't say anything else. Liu Jiwei gestured in embarrassment. "Wansi, can you turn around first?" Having to take off her clothes in front of Sang Wansi felt strange. "Tell me if you need help." Sang Wansi turned around and waited patiently. When your sense of sight is gone, your hearing becomes keener. The clothes rubbing against each other, resulting in a rustling sound. And Liu Jiwei's breathing, soft at times, then heavier at others, as if she was struggling with something. She wanted to turn around to help, but she couldn't. Time suddenly became inexplicably slow. Until a clear voice, somewhat weak, came from behind, "I'm done." Liu Jiwei had a hard time taking her clothes off. She was sitting in the tub at the innermost side, facing the wall, as if she was punished to reflect on her mistakes. It would be even more convincing if her face wasn't so red. When the sound of water splashing and the presence of someone else came, Liu Jiwei's face became even redder. Who could expect it? The beauty she used to watch on television would be sitting in the same bathtub as her at this very moment. Right behind her. Liu Jiwei's heart couldn't keep calm. I'm taking a bath with her. Truly, suggesting bathing together was one thing, but actually bathing together was another. The other was even more embarrassing, to the point her face was burning up. "Hands!" the person behind reminded. "Don't touch the water." Liu Jiwei immediately raised her hands up. Sang Wansi got up and pulled over a towel, asking, "Do you want to wrap up your hands?" Liu Jiwei thought in her heart, that would be best. Her plaster bandages were breathable and not waterproof. Once water seeped in, it would hurt a lot. She shuffled over and turned around, stretching out her hands pitifully. At this moment, she was like a drenched puppy, raising her two front paws. Sang Wansi couldn't help but smile, thinking she was pitiful but funny and cute. "Liu Jiwei, what are you smiling at? I'm already so pitiful, how could you still smile?" Sang Wansi was honest, "Nothing, I just thought you were very cute." Liu Jiwei. Sang Wansi, like a puppy. Liu Jiwei. She was only injured now, she wouldn't be like that in the future. Sang Wansi helped her wrap her hands, then brought a clean, white cloth over. "I'll help you wash up." And she didn't forget to promise, "I'll be gentle, I won't hurt you." Liu Jiwei nodded, her gaze unconsciously going over her chest area. Sang Wansi's collarbones were prominent and attractive, subtly seductive in the dim, warm light of the bathroom. Her skin was pale, pale enough to make all the colors shining on her skin appear obvious yet not unattractive. Liu Jiwei hurriedly looked away, as if she had been burnt, her face reddening again. Taking a bath with someone else was truly such an embarrassing thing. Sang Wansi gently wiped her forearm. Liu Jiwei's arm was very attractive, with all the right proportions. Her figure was good, actually, svelte and slender. Sang Wansi couldn't help thinking, she would definitely be very attractive in a gown. She also believed she would be able to see Liu Jiwei in a gown soon. The surroundings were quiet with the exception of the splashing of water. Liu Jiwei was embarrassed, and couldn't stand the silence between them. So she started looking for a topic in her mind, and she finally thought of one. "Wansi, are you planning to let me sleep with you?" Sang Wansi's hand moved to her straight, skinny shoulder, the warm water gliding down from her shoulder into the bathtub. Until your hands are better. Liu Jiwei looked at her, a strand of black hair slipping over her shoulder. Sang Wansi lifted that strand of hair, her eyes gentle as water amidst the steam. You're not allowed to refuse. Liu Jiwei's heart started racing. She didn't get it, she really didn't get it. How was Sang Wansi so good at flirting?